How is it going, everyone? It's Caleb Lumity here, and today we are going to be talking about Dead by Daylight. I think this is the perfect game for Halloween. It is a really fun horror game because in this game, you can actually play as the killer if you want to. However, apparently they have issues with trying to get people to play as the killer. Apparently more people want to play as the survivors. And I'll be honest, I don't really get that because I'm someone who always wants to play as the killer. I'm the opposite of that. I don't really care too much about playing as the survivor. I'll do it every now and then just because, I have the characters and some of the DLC, so I'm like, why not? But I prefer to play as the killers in this game, If I get a chance to play as the big murderous monster, I'm going to pick the big murderous monster, okay? That's just the way I am. And also, whenever you pick a killer, you also have advantage. The killers in this game have a heavy advantage. So I don't really... I don't know. I don't know why people enjoy playing Survivor, if I'm being honest. It's not bad playing Survivor. I don't mind it. But if I have to choose, I'm picking killer. So let's talk about Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is a multiplayer horror game, like I said, where you get to play as either a survivor or the killer. You have 5 people in a match. You have 4 survivors, 1 killer. And your job as the survivors is to go around and repair generators to try and open up the escape doors. And your job as the killer is to stop them from repairing the generators, sabotage the generators, down the survivors, and try to sacrifice them to the entity. And you can sacrifice them by throwing them on hooks, and the survivors have a chance to try to get the other survivors off of the hooks if they get thrown onto them. And you can also use some perks, or you can actually just get to the point, if there's a solo survivor left, where you can just instantly kill the survivor as well. So there's a couple different options you have as killers, whereas survivors don't really have a whole lot of options other than just repairing generators and running. If you are the last survivor standing, a trap door will open for you, so it will make it easier for you to escape. But that trapdoor can also be closed, so you still have to deal with that. And again, the trapdoor, I think, is only available to you if you are the sole survivor, unless there's another perk that I don't know about. Because even though I've put a decent amount of time into this game, there's still a lot of perks that I don't know about. Especially because each character in this game, survivor and killer, has their own unique perks as well. So whenever you're swapping to a different character, it's a bit of a learning curve because each one does have the certain skill sets that they're better at than other characters. One of my favorite characters to play as is Lara Croft. I used the little Lara Croft from the Tomb Raider DLC, and she has a lot of stuff that just helps her movement, right? She can climb through windows quicker, she can get boost of speed quicker whenever, I think she saves someone, I think is one of her perks, or at least it was one of the perks I was using whenever I used her. So she has a lot of stuff that helps with mobility, and I really like that, and that helps getting away from the killer. Whenever I'm playing as the animatronic, which is a Five Nights at Freddy's character, which it's William Afton. Whenever I'm playing as William Afton, I like to actually not really use a whole lot of his specialization perks. I like to use just kind of generic ones for him because I don't really care too much about his personalized perks. He has some good ones, whenever you exit a security door, it will block off some of the things that the survivors can use to try to block you. So I think that's kind of cool, but I like using just kind of the generic perks whenever I'm using the animatronic. The 2 favorite killers, let's talk about the killers first. My 2 favorite killers to use are definitely the animatronic and the huntress. And they're very similar because they both have throwing hatchets and they both run around, and they have close range options, but they do have some long range options as well since they have the throwing hatchets. And I really like playing as the characters. I think Huntress is a little bit better in my opinion. At least I'm better with her. And I think that's one thing you'll find out whenever you're playing this game is that you may not have the same luck with certain killers that other people have. You really kind of have to find one that fits your playstyle. And for me, these 2 really fit my playstyle the most. But I really enjoy playing as the Huntress. I like that she walks around humming as she's just doing her hunting and hunting the survivors. I think that's fun. I like the perks that she has as well. And I just like her weapons and all of that stuff as also. So all of that stuff is great for the Huntress. I really enjoy playing as the Huntress. She's fun to play as, and I feel like you can really do some damage pretty quickly with her. And I win more matches than I lose when it comes to using the Huntress. And I say win loosely because honestly, there's no official way to win, I don't think, in this game. It's all very loosely based, and I believe that there's community standards for what counts as a win and what counts as a loss. But honestly, I think the developers just kind of want you to have fun with it either way. So I heard that 3 to 4 kills on survivors counts as a win, 2 counts as a tie, and 1 or 0 counts as a loss. Again, that's just community made rules. You can play it however you want because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But I can usually get a complete team wipe when I play as the Huntress. I really like playing as the Huntress. I'm pretty decent with her, and I think that she is one of the most basic ones to learn, but it also is incredibly easy to master because of that, and she becomes an incredibly useful killer. So I like using her a lot. I like using William Afton. I think he's still fun, and I mean, I mainly use him honestly, in that he's the reason I actually came back to Dead by Daylight. I mainly use him because he's Five Nights at Freddy's, and I'm a huge fan of that series, and then I also love Scott Cawthon, so I really like using him, but mainly just because of where he's from. But it does help that he is similar to Huntress in a lot of ways. The main difference between him and Huntress is the fact that he can use the security doors, like the security doors you see in Five Nights at Freddy's. Well, in this game, he can use them, and he can travel from one side of the map to another just by walking through the security doors. And if a survivor walks into the security door at the same time as William Afton, then William Afton will just automatically grab him, and he'll already have them ready to go for, and throw on a hook. So he's pretty good. I do like William Afton, but Huntress is just a lot more simpler and a lot easier to play, and I kind of just like that simplicity that Huntress has. The survivors do have some tools at their disposal to try to at least slow down the killer. One thing that they can do is they can tip pallets over, and the pallets can basically stun the killer. I think that this is not a great feature. I get that they want to do something, right, to stop the killer, but maybe they could have come up with something a little bit better, because this just seems really goofy. Like, you knock over pallets and all of a sudden the killer's just like stunned and he's like stopped in place like, what was that? Like, he's confused about pallets being knocked over, just like, really? I don't know. There's some things in this game that just come across as really silly and not really making a whole lot of sense. I guess it's kind of just part of it, right? Maybe it's just the campiness of it. Maybe that's what they were going for, but for me, I look at this, I'm just like, why would my character stop when someone just tips over a pallet? He's a gigantic animatronic. He would just step right through it and keep going. Like, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. And another thing that they do in this game, and again, they do this for the purpose of it being fair, right? Because if you don't have these things set in place, then the killers are going to have even more of an advantage than they already have. And they already have a massive advantage. But one thing that is kind of funny is whenever you're the killer and you use your melee attack, they have like a cooldown period before you can actually use your melee attack again, and the killer stabs, and then instead of being able to stab again, he takes his time and slowly wipes off the blade of what he was using. And again, it makes sense for balancing, but man, it looks kind of silly, and you're just thinking like, why would he just clean off his blade when he's gonna stab again anyway? I don't know. It probably doesn't bother most people, but for some reason it bothers me. Okay, so I just noticed that. But it is a way, again, these things are things that help balance the game, and they need to balance it in some sort of way because the survivors are at a severe disadvantage in this game. The one thing that you really want to do whenever you're playing as a killer is you don't want to really focus in on one person in particular. You don't want to do things like camp hooks, because camping hooks is never going to help you out. You need to be running around the map. You need to be trying to find out what generators they're repairing. You need to be damaging those generators. You need to be throwing the survivors on the hooks, and if they get picked off the hook, that's okay. Throw them on it again, and if they get, picked off of the hook again, throw them on one last time, and that's when the entity goes ahead and eats them up anyway. So, they have basically 3 tries and they're out. So go ahead and make them use up all 3 tries, because even though the match will take longer, it's worth it because you're more likely to win if you're doing it that way. You're more likely to win if you're mobile and you keep moving, you keep chasing, you keep going after people, and you don't just try to sit and camp people. So keep moving. That is one of the most important things, I think, as a killer in this game, is to be mobile. Now let's go ahead and swap over to the survivor side of things, because it's a little bit harder to be mobile as the survivor because you do have to repair generators. You have some tricks up your sleeve that you can use. You can hide in these, different types of cabinets, these tool cabinets you can hide in. However, your character will make noise, and it can give them away where they're actually at. And some characters will have to open the tool cabinets anyway to, restock their hatchets. For example, the Huntress opens up the tool cabinets to grab new hatchets. So, if you happen to be hiding in one, and she needs to refill her hatchets, you might get caught by accident even. So, keep that in mind. Now, you have some, actually, sidearms, I guess you could call them. You have some little add-ons that you can use. And it's pretty basic stuff. You have like a flashlight, and you can shine the flashlight in the face of the killer, and it will stun them. Again, does it make sense? Not really, but they're just trying anything they can to somehow balance this game. And I'm sure that this is honestly a really hard task to balance this game. I'm sure it is, because you basically have a super soldier going against 4 defenseless characters. It's basically how it works. But, you have a character who can your survivors can use the flashlight, stun the killer, and you can kind of make him like stop what he's doing. He can't see or anything, and he's kind of just bumbling around for a minute. You can also have health packs, and you can heal yourself up. So you can take damage in this game. It's basically 2 hits, you get knocked down. If you take 2 hits, you're knocked down. The killer can pick you up and throw you on a hook. So if you have a health pack and you get hit once, you can heal yourself, and then you'll be back at full health. You'll have to take 2 hits again before you can get knocked down. So that's how that works. You also have a toolbox that you can use. Toolboxes I actually really like. I think that's my favorite equipment because it helps you speed repair those generators, and that's pretty useful. Again, I really like using that type of equipment whenever I'm playing as Lara Croft, because she's already about mobility, being able to move and stuff. So if you have a toolbox and you're able to repair a generator quick, then you can immediately take off running into another room where another generator might be and start repairing that one. You don't have many uses with these things, so you do need to be smart with how you use them and think wisely about how you want to use them. You also have offerings at the beginning of each match, and offerings do a few different things. They can give you bonuses and stuff like that. They can give you some advantages whenever you're playing, and the survivors and the killer both get offerings. And my favorite offering to use as the killer, especially William Afton, was one that just let me go ahead and use the insta-kills basically after hooking the player twice. So I didn't have to wait for a sole survivor. I could just kill them right after I downed them twice, or could throw them on the hook twice. So that's a really great perk to have. I really would like that. Offering is what they call it. And then as the regular players, usually whenever I'm playing as just a survivor, I usually just use stuff to give me more blood points and give the team more blood points and stuff like that. There's some better stuff, but to get the good stuff, you have to keep going further and further up in what's called the blood web, and it's basically this way that you level up, because you can actually level up each individual character in this game. And it's kind of weird how it works, because you have this little web of perks, and you just keep picking one, and you keep picking perks on the blood web until you basically complete it, and then it will go to the next level of the blood web, and you just keep doing that over and over and over again. And by doing that, you'll get new perks, you'll get add-on items that will be able to be used. They're not something that you can actually keep, they're disposable, so keep that in mind. You'll want to keep going through the blood web, because not everything you get in it is permanent. You will get a lot of disposable items in that, and it's important to keep leveling up your characters, because you're going to want to keep getting more and more disposable items, because those add-on items do help you quite a bit. They do help, even though you're always at a disadvantage against the killer, at least they give you a slight edge, that you get a little bit more of an advantage than you would have had if you didn't have those add-ons. So definitely keep upgrading your character, use the add-ons, make sure that you are trying to get the best perks that you can, the best add-ons that you can. There's different rarities of them. You can prestige your characters as well, and when you prestige your characters, you get better items doing that as well, better perks and stuff. So keep in mind, keep upgrading your character. That's something that you definitely need to do in this game if you want to have a chance. Graphically, the game looks great. I love the way it looks. I love the sound design of it. There's not really a whole lot of noticeable music, I will say. Nothing is really that memorable for me, so nothing too great on that front. But the game itself is fun, and I do really enjoy it. I think it's a fun game, and it definitely will take some time to learn it and to get past the learning curve. But once you get past the learning curve, I think that you will probably enjoy this game. But it does take some time. It's not a quick thing. It's going to take you a few hours to find a killer that you really, really enjoy using. And it's going to take you some hours to find a survivor that you really like using. It takes some time to figure it out and just to find a character that really suits you. Because each character, even though survivors aren't completely different, each killer is very, very different. So you really have to practice and figure out what moveset works best for you. Are you more a close quarters person? Are you more long range? Do you like a mix of both? What type of, special attack do you like? You need to kind of figure that out if you're playing as killer. And when it comes to survivors, you basically just need to see the difference of the perks and decide what perks would work best for your playstyle on that front. So I really do like this game. It has quite a bit of variations of how it can be played, and I think overall it's just a really fun time. it may stress out new players, and I will say it's not very newcomer friendly because the learning curve is pretty heavy. It's best, honestly, just to dive straight into this game. Just dive straight into it and just kind of learn as you go. Like I said, it will take you some hours. It'll probably take you 3-4 hours to actually get the hang of it. But if you can, it is a really, really fun game. The only other thing I will say about this game is that it does have a lot of DLC, which is kind of a good and a bad thing because you do get some cool killers. Like, really, the only reason I came back to this game, I've been on a hiatus from this game for like 3 or 4 years. It had been a while. The last time I played it was during a Christmas event, I think in like 2021 or something like that. But it had been quite some time since I played this game, and the only reason I came back was actually because of the Five Nights at Freddy's DLC. That's why I came back. So it's a blessing and a curse in some ways, because you do get some cool killers. However, a lot of the killers are locked behind a paywall, so that kind of sucks. And also, there's just a lot of cosmetic items and a lot of other stuff that is also locked behind paywalls and microtransactions. This game is very microtransaction heavy, and I'm not a huge fan of that, but I understand it because, they need to make their money if they're going to keep working on this game, and it does seem like they want to keep working on this game. However, I do have a suggestion for them. They'll probably never see this video, but if they do, at this point, make the game free to play. You're selling this game on sale a lot of times for like $8. Is it really worth $8? Honestly, are you even making that much from it? Just make the game free to play and use the microtransactions to actually get the money, because the microtransactions are already there. So if you already have that aggressive of microtransactions, just make the game free to play and let everyone play it, and then you can build your player base that way. I think that would be a much better way to do it, especially because there's even a battle pass in this. So you're already getting money from the battle pass, you're already getting money from microtransactions. Do you really need to charge for a game that's this old at this point? Because this game's been out for a while. I will say, at the time of recording this video, you actually can play Dead by Daylight on Xbox Ultimate Game Pass. You can't play it on Core, but you can play it on Ultimate. So if you do have a subscription to Game Pass Ultimate, then you can give this a shot completely free and see how you like it that way. And that may be a great way to try the game. And I think they do some free weekends every now and then, but I'm not sure how often they do that. That being said, I do enjoy the game. I hope one day it goes free to play, because it really should be at this point with how many microtransactions I have. If you can pick up on sale, it is worth it though. I mean, if you can pick it up for like $8, I definitely say do it, but definitely wait for a sale. And even for the DLC characters, if you want some of the DLC characters, they go on sale pretty often as well. So wait for a sale to even pick up some of the DLC characters if you really, really want them. Like, I waited for a sale for even the Five Nights at Freddy's character. So definitely keep an eye out on it. It goes on sale very often, and if you want to pick it up, you'll definitely get some fun time out of this game. You'll get a lot of time out of this game, and just keep in mind that it does have a steep learning curve, but it definitely feels rewarding once you finally feel like you've mastered a killer or you've mastered a survivor. So thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.